The chamber hissed open with a slow exhale of frost, releasing a swirl of white vapor that curled like ghostly tendrils in the dim light. Commander Elias Kale blinked against the glare of the overhead panels, his vision struggling to adjust after decades of darkness. The air was sterile, tinged with the faint scent of coolant and metal, and each breath burned his lungs as if they had forgotten how to function. His muscles ached with the stiffness of unnatural sleep, but the cold beneath his skin was not from the cryostasis. It was from the eyes watching him. They stood in a semicircle, 6 of them, each tall and lithe with cobalt skin and eyes that shimmered like shards of ice. Their uniforms were immaculate, segmented plates of dark alloy fitted with precision. The one directly ahead of him, broad-shouldered, with an angular jaw, regarded him with the controlled stillness of someone trained to mask emotion. The others, though outwardly calm, carried an unmistakable tension, as though a single wrong move might shatter the fragile stillness in the room. Elias Kale, the broad-shouldered alien, spoke, his voice a deep, resonant hum, every syllable precise. "You have been asleep for 27 cycles. The war is over." The words struck like a blow. Memories surged in disjointed flashes, the roar of artillery, the crackle of comms screaming orders, the smell of scorched hull plating. He remembered the last mission, a desperate maneuver in the black void beyond Vega's rift. There had been no victory in sight, only a command to protect someone, before the darkness took him. He tried to sit upright, but his restraints released too slowly, as if reluctant to let go of him. "Where?" His voice rasped, raw and foreign in his throat. "You are aboard a Zyran Alliance vessel," the alien continued. "Your presence here is unexpected." A faint vibration underfoot told him they were in motion, perhaps already leaving the system where he'd been entombed. His gaze drifted past the alien speaker to the chamber's far side, where the cryopod still gaped open like a steel wound. The frost on its rim shimmered under the pale ceiling lights, and in its shadow he noticed a console with data streams running in alien glyphs. One display pulsed with a red icon, locked to his name. His instincts, long buried under the weight of frozen years, began to stir. "Why am I here? Who ordered my revival?" The alien didn't answer. Instead, a door hissed open behind them, spilling a shaft of warmer light into the sterile gloom. A figure entered, taller than the rest, his uniform lined with silver insignia. His gaze swept over Kale in one slow, measuring glance, and the subtle shift in the other's postures told Kale this was someone of authority. "You will come with me," the newcomer said, his accent heavier, the syllables clipped. "Your existence poses complications." Complications. The word carried weight, like a blade hidden in velvet. Kale swung his legs over the side of the pod, ignoring the ache that protested each movement. His bare feet touched the cold deck plating, sending a shock up his spine that jolted his mind further awake. The corridor beyond the chamber was a tunnel of burnished metal, lit by thin strips of light running along the walls. Kale's escort, 2 of the blue-skinned guards, kept close, their boots silent on the deck. He caught glimpses of passing crew members who paused mid-stride to stare at him, some with open curiosity, others with veiled unease. The silence between footfalls was a living thing, pressing against him, urging questions he wasn't sure he wanted answered. They led him into a small medical bay, where the air carried a faint tang of antiseptic. A scanning device descended from the ceiling, humming as it swept a beam of pale green light over his body. The holographic display that flared to life showed more than anatomy. It revealed a network of glowing threads woven through his neural pathways, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The silver insignia officer leaned closer to the projection, his jaw tightening. "You were part of Project Last Ember." The name stirred something deep within Kale, but the memory remained frustratingly out of reach. He remembered a briefing room, dimly lit, with a circle of grim-faced officers and the weight of an oath heavy on his tongue. Before he could speak, an alarm trilled softly, urgent but controlled. One of the guards tapped his earpiece, his eyes narrowing. A fragment of the conversation carried over. Anomaly detected, deep sector, matching pre-war signatures. Kale caught the silver insignia officer's glance, brief, sharp, and unmistakably wary. For the first time since waking, the man's composure cracked, if only by a fraction. The scan concluded, and the beam faded. "You will remain under observation," the officer said, voice returning to its measured tone. "We will determine the safest course for all involved." They left him in a small cabin, Spartan in its furnishings, a narrow bed, a wall-mounted console, and a single viewport looking out into the ink-black void. Beyond the glass, the stars drifted in their eternal patterns, unchanged despite everything that had happened. He sat on the bed, head bowed, piecing together the fragments in his mind. The war was over. Humanity scattered. And yet they had kept him alive, guarded, studied, spoken of in cautious tones. The hum of the engines was steady beneath him, but faintly, so faintly he wondered if he imagined it. He thought he could hear something else. A low, almost imperceptible pulse, like the distant echo of war drums carried across the cold gulf of space. Somewhere out there, something was moving. And if the glances and guarded words of his captors were any indication, whatever it was had been waiting for him. The capital ship's command deck was a cathedral of steel and starlight, its curved walls lined with consoles alive with streams of alien glyphs. Elias Kale stood under the scrutiny of a dozen Zyran officers, each as unreadable as the void beyond the panoramic viewport. The air carried the faint hum of the ship's engines, a vibration that resonated in his bones like a constant reminder of motion, away from where he'd slept, towards something he had yet to understand. Across from him, a tall figure in obsidian armor emerged from the shadows, his silver insignia gleaming under the cold light. This was Varen Drall, Admiral of the Zyran Alliance's Outer Defense Fleet, a name whispered with equal measures of respect and fear in Kale's time. His pale eyes studied Kale with an intensity that cut through the alien detachment his kind were known for. "You are the last activation," Varen said, his voice low but carrying the authority of command. "Project Last Ember was designed to be a contingency for a war we believed unwinnable." The words coiled around Kale's thoughts. Last Ember. He remembered fragments now. The sealed conference room, the grim oaths, the knowledge that some missions would never be declassified. The project had been a seed planted in the shadow of humanity's fall, one meant to ignite only if the galaxy's peace proved an illusion. "Why wake me now?" Kale asked, his voice steady despite the growing weight in his chest. Varen's gaze flickered to the holographic display at the center of the deck. A three-dimensional star map unfolded in shimmering blue, its center marked by a crimson pulse. The surrounding systems were annotated with alien script, but Kale didn't need translation to recognize the significance. The red signal was moving. "An anomaly," Varen said. "It emits a power signature identical to the enemy fleet that shattered your homeworld. We destroyed them or believed we had. This object has been dormant for decades, hidden beyond our reach. Now it moves toward inhabited space." Kale's pulse quickened. "And you think I know how to stop it?" "Not think. No." Varen's expression hardened. "Your neural imprint contains tactical matrices and encrypted design schematics for weapons never built. We have searched your kind for survivors with this data and found none. You are the last." The deck fell into a taut silence, broken only by the soft chirps of the consoles. Kale felt the eyes of the officers on him, a mixture of curiosity, distrust, and, beneath it all, fear. He realized that to them he was not merely a soldier from a dead war. He was a living weapon, a relic from an age when humanity's defiance had nearly torn the galaxy apart. The moment fractured with the arrival of a small, cloaked figure slipping through the deck's far entrance. Her features were human, though sharper, as if sculpted by years of surviving in places where life was cheap and air was scarce. She moved with deliberate care, her eyes scanning the room until they locked on Kale. "Name's Sarah Vale," she said without preamble. "I'm with what's left of the resistance. You don't have much time." The guards reacted instantly, their hands moving toward their sidearms, but Varen raised a hand and froze them in place. "How did you get aboard?" Sarah's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smirk. "You're not the only ones who can infiltrate old human cryo facilities. We've been watching this one for years, waiting for him to wake." Her gaze flicked to Kale. "And we know what's coming isn't just a remnant. It's a vanguard." Her words landed with the weight of truth, and Kale knew it. The anomaly was not a lone survivor. It was the first strike of something larger, something the war had never truly ended. Varen's tone sharpened. "Explain." "Your scans will confirm it soon enough," Sarah said. "It's broadcasting in layered pulses, messages to something still out there. They'll follow. And when they do, you'll wish you had more than your fleets." Kale's mind spun with possibilities. If what she said was true, the galaxy's fragile piece was a veneer stretched over a chasm. He turned back to Varen. "You brought me here to decide whether I serve you or fight you. But the truth is, we don't have the luxury of either. If we don't act, none of this will matter." For a long moment, the Admiral said nothing. Then, with a slow nod, he signaled the map to expand, revealing a chain of systems in the anomaly's path. Civilian colonies, mining worlds, border outposts. Each would fall like dry leaves in a storm. "I will convene the council," Varen said finally. "You will come before them and speak. But understand this, there are those who will demand your execution before they allow you to act." Kale met his gaze, without flinching. "Then they'd better decide quickly. Because whatever's coming, it's already on its way." The deck lights dimmed slightly as the ship shifted course, the stars in the viewport sliding past like silent witnesses. Somewhere beyond them, the anomaly crept closer, carrying the echo of a war everyone but Kale had thought was finished. He felt it now in his bones, the inevitability of its arrival, and the unshakable certainty that the galaxy was about to learn just how little time peace truly buys. The council chamber was a sphere of glass and steel suspended in orbit above the Zyran capital, its walls offering an unbroken view of the endless void. Stars glittered like scattered embers beyond the transparent shell, silent witnesses to the storm brewing within. Delegates from a dozen worlds stood in a ring, their voices sharp with fear, suspicion, and pride. Elias Kale stood at the center, the lone human in a space built for judgment. Varen Drall flanked him to the left, Sarah Vale to the right, both silent as the debate raged overhead in overlapping tongues. Translation drones hovered in the air, converting the chaos into an endless stream of clipped words. Risk. Weapon. Extinction. The words repeated in different voices, each weighted by centuries of history. "You would have us arm the very thing that once threatened the Alliance," an elder with skin like molten copper said, her long fingers gripping the edge of her podium. "You remember the war. You remember the cost." Kale's voice cut through the chamber, steady, but edged with steel. "I remember. I also remember what it took to stop them last time. Whatever is coming now," he glanced to Sarah, who gave the faintest nod. "It will not be stopped by hesitation." The chamber stilled. Even the drones seemed to hum more quietly. Varen stepped forward, projecting the anomaly's most recent trajectory. The red pulse had grown sharper, brighter, its course now set directly for a populated border system less than a week away. "It is not a choice between trusting the human or not," Varen said, his voice carrying the authority of command. "It is a choice between preparing for war or being caught unarmed." Whispers rippled around the ring, but Kale barely heard them. His gaze was fixed on the map, calculating distances, supply routes, potential choke points. The knowledge was there in his mind, dormant patterns unraveling into strategies as if no time had passed since the war's last battle. The vote was called. The decision, narrow, grudging, gave Kale access to one ship, stripped from the reserve fleet, with a skeleton crew of volunteers. It was less than he wanted, more than he expected. Hours later, in the shipyard's graveyard bay, Kale stood before the vessel. Its hull was scarred, patches of mismatched alloy stitched together from decades-old repairs. The nameplate was half worn away, but the letters that remained read Vanguard. She'll fly, Sarah said, stepping beside him. And she's fast enough to get there before the anomaly hits the colonies. Varen arrived without ceremony, carrying a small case. Inside were data rods, sleek, black, and sealed with the Alliance crest. These hold your tactical matrices, he said. Use them as you see fit. But know this, if you go rogue, the Alliance will hunt you without pause. Kale took the case without hesitation. If I go rogue, it will be because you've already lost. The Vanguard launched at shift change, slipping from the bay into the cold dark. The crew, a mix of Zyran veterans, human resistance fighters, and 2 cybernetic engineers, moved with silent efficiency. Every deck light was dimmed, every system run low to avoid detection. Halfway to the border, the anomaly appeared on long-range scans. It was no ship in the conventional sense, more a vast, shifting architecture of black metal and pulsing light, like a wound in space itself. Its edges shimmered, bending starlight, and within its core, something moved with a rhythm that set Kale's teeth on edge. He gathered the crew in the command center. We can't destroy it outright, he said. Not with what we have. But we can slow it. Force it to change course, give the colonies time to evacuate. Sarah's eyes narrowed. And if it calls the others? Then we've bought the galaxy a warning, Kale said. And maybe a chance. The plan unfolded in precise steps, a high-speed approach under the anomaly's detection net, the deployment of energy destabilizes along its periphery, and a final burst from the Vanguard's main drives to outrun the inevitable counterstrike. The execution was flawless until the anomaly reacted faster than predicted. Tendrils of energy lashed out, scoring the ship's shields, rattling the hull like a drum under fire. Kale stayed at the helm until the final destabilizer detonated. A ripple tore through the anomaly's form, distorting its advance. It slowed, faltered, then began to withdraw, disappearing into the deeper dark with a silence more chilling than any weapon's roar. In the aftermath, the crew sat in the dim-lit command center, the only sound the quiet hum of systems returning to idle. No one spoke until Sarah leaned forward, her voice low. It's not gone. Just waiting. Kale's gaze drifted to the viewport, where the stars stretched on forever. Then so are we. The Vanguard turned away from the now empty sector, its drives igniting for a course that was not on any Alliance chart. Somewhere out there were more sleepers, more pieces of the war that never ended. And as long as Kale drew breath, he would find them before the darkness returned.